Modern cosmology is presented to the public and to students as a triumph of human knowledge, an enterprise of precision measurements and elegant equations, yet at its core it is a fragile story stitched together from assumptions that never existed in the real universe. The data themselves are not in dispute. Astronomers measure redshifts, track the fading light curves of supernovae, map galaxies in their vast filaments and voids, and chart the microwave radiation that permeates the sky. These are solid, reproducible, real measurements. What is in dispute is the interpretation. Modern cosmology has transformed these data into a grand narrative built from imaginary constructs, mathematical inventions, and axioms that were never verified. That narrative, however elaborate, is nothing more than potch and blather. The first layer of this story goes back to Newton, who assumed absolute space and absolute time. These were never observed, never measured, but taken as givens because they made calculation possible. The habit of embedding primitive constructs began there and has never stopped. Flat infinite space, universal time, homogeneity, isotropy, all are treated as axioms, not as discoveries. These primitives are still the scaffolding of the current model. Einstein may have replaced Newton's stage with a smooth continuum, but it was still assumed to be regular, differentiable, and Euclidean at the limit. Nothing in the actual universe resembles such perfection. The cosmos is clumpy, jagged, and asymmetrical, but cosmology insists on describing it as smooth, uniform, and symmetric because the equations demand it. This is not science. It is assumptions stacked upon assumptions, employing imaginary constructs to make flawed math work, a fairy tale. When these primitive assumptions collide with observation, the fairy tale invents new characters to keep the plot alive. The apparent flatness and isotropy gave birth to inflation, a sudden eruption of expansion driven by a hypothetical field no one has ever observed. The mismatch between the motion of galaxies and the matter we see gave birth to dark matter, an invisible substance that makes up most of the universe on paper but nowhere in reality. Supernova redshift data led to dark energy, a mysterious force that supposedly accelerates the expansion of the universe. When even those were not enough, cosmologists added entropy projected across the entire cosmos, pocket dimensions hidden from detection, and a multiverse of countless invisible universes. Each of these is announced with the authority of science, yet each is only an invention, another patch sewn onto a crumbling fabric. It is assumptions layered upon assumptions. The mathematics is praised as rigorous, but math cannot save a model built on false premises. Equations are only as meaningful as the assumptions behind them. If the assumptions are imaginary, the results are only a story written in symbols. Cosmologists claim success because their models fit the data, but the fit comes from adjusting parameters to force the data into the shape of the story. The equations confirm themselves because they are designed to. This is not empirical science, it is circular logic. The fairy tale continues not because it is true, but because it is self-consistent. Meanwhile, reality is what it has always been. The universe is not smooth or isotropic. It is not expanding in a background metric. It did not emerge from a primordial singularity or need an inflationary burst to make it flat. It does not require invisible matter or energy to keep the equations balanced. The physical universe shows us clumps, filaments, collisions, explosions, and cycles of birth and death. Time is local. Light bends through curved paths shaped by matter. What is observed is rich and complex, but it is not what the cosmological fairy tale describes. Modern cosmology should be recognized for what it is, not a science uncovering the fundamental nature of reality, but a myth told in mathematical clothing. Its constructs are fictional, its elegance is deceptive, and its authority is borrowed from the reputation of real science while it drifts into speculation. The instruments measure galaxies, supernovae, and radiation. The fairy tale begins when those measurements are forced into a framework inherited from Newton and elaborated over centuries. To call this story potch and blather is not an insult but an honest description. It is an elaborate fiction maintained by tradition, consensus, and the unwillingness to abandon assumptions that never existed in the first place. Follow Adventure Seeker's Paradise for more explorations beyond the stories we are told.